Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Money in the Morning, aka Economic Elevation, aka Financial Consciousness. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I hope everybody's feeling good. I hope everybody's having a great day. I am having a wild day. This mo- this morning I screwed up. I got up at 7:30 Eastern, which is 6:30 Central, so I was right kind of on track. I try to get up at maybe 5:45 Central, but who's counting? And you go through that battle of like whether or not you should get out of bed or sleep for another hour. Well, a part of me feels like I lost that battle because I just went right back to sleep. But then the way I've actually rationalized that with myself is that I think I needed rest. So because I needed rest, I let my body heal, and so I went right back to sleep and I slept good. But then I got my butt up and I did some miles, and which was a big deal because I strained my back because I was out here pretending to be a 25-year-old out here shoveling snow and stuff. What the hell am I doing out here shoveling snow? And I'm telling you, I strained my back. I didn't even lift anything heavy. All I did was lift the shovel to because I was breaking the ice up. And literally just the awkward movement is like, oh crap, man. So I had a crazy, crazy week with that. And also yesterday was a wild day. There's a big game in college football, if you know anything about college football, and it was between Ohio State and Indiana. It was the Big Ten championship. Ohio State's ranked number one in the country. They're kind of the Goliath. Indiana is having the kind of season that will probably be made into a movie. Literally, like literally, they would make a movie out of this. And so last night, David met Goliath, and they slayed Goliath. It was kind of wild and it was crazy, and it was a mixed day for me because Indiana is where I met my wife, and Ohio State is where I got my PhD. So I remember thinking, I told my dad, I said, yeah, I'm kind of I have mixed emotions because Indiana, Ohio State gave me my doctorate, Indiana gave me my wife, and I said, I don't know which one's the bigger pain in the ass, though. That's the thing. I got to figure out which one was the bigger pain in my ass to acquire. But I'm kidding. I didn't acquire my wife. She acquired herself. You don't own people. Stop that. That's slavery. But still, though, anyway. But both of these places gave me an amazing gift. And I'm going to say my wife is the bigger gift. And so, therefore, when Ohio State gets beaten by Indiana, which actually was the greatest. It's the greatest season in 130 years of Indiana football. They've never been ranked number one. They've never won. They haven't won a Big Ten championship in 50 years. It was really kind of wild. So anyway, with that being said, that was my day yesterday, and I watched the game with my dad, and it was a lot of fun. And we had a chance to really reflect on a lot of things. A lot of things about the years, going through the years and everything. And so here's what this led me to do. So this morning I got up and I started thinking about capitalism. And I was just sort of kind of going through the history of capitalism and trying to process this because I've heard people use a term before, and this term is black capitalism. And I have a good friend, Mike Roberts, who he's known for being he's a pretty wealthy guy, richer than I am, I'm sure, who lives in St. Louis. And Mike Roberts is he's been doing these sessions on capitalism at different HBCUs and things like that. And when he mentioned it to me, I was intrigued by it, but I was kind of like, I don't know if I'd be a fit for something like that because I don't think I'm a capitalist. I don't know if I'm a capitalist, and I'm not here to criticize other capitalists, but I don't know if I'm a capitalist, particularly when I look at the way capitalism has been executed in America. And I thought it would be fun today to kind of go through and discuss what capitalism really looks like, how it works, what it could look like, right? And most importantly, how to prepare yourself, how to protect your family, how to make sure that you are good, your kids are good, your grandkids are good, because that's the goal, right? Do we agree on that? Do we agree that the goal is to make sure that our families are good, our community's good, that whatever the system is, that our people are going to win? I just want you to win. That's really it, right? So here is a formal definition of capitalism. I'm going to read it, but I could sort of arm wave my way through it, but I'd rather read it so you can really, we can nail it down a little bit. Capitalism is an economic system in which the means of production, the things that the means by which things are produced, such as land, factories, technology, and capital. Write that down. Land, factories, technology, and capital. Land, factory, technologies, and capital. Land, factories, technologies, and capital. I keep saying that because this can be maybe trigger some senses in terms of, okay, these are the things I want to control if I want to have some power in this society. Land, before integration, Black people used to want to own land. We had lots of families that owned land and businesses, and they traded that in for corporate jobs and student loans. Factories, you're producing something. You are a producer, not just a consumer. When you are simply the consumer, then you are simply consuming the things that the producers create for you. Do you understand? Like it's their world and you just living in it. Right? Your reality becomes a product of whatever they decide reality is going to be. That's kind of a scary place to be. Technology. We know how important technology is, either controlling it or at least understanding it. That's why, for example, when we talk about this extraordinary technology called artificial intelligence, and we formed our AI group, I said, look, your goal isn't just to know AI, you also want to own AI. So this week earlier, I did the training on how to be the perfect AI investor. We went through every nook and cranny, found out where all the money was buried, where all the opportunities are, where all the contingencies live. And we said, okay, we can invest here and here and here and here and here. That way you're planted. You're planted in so that as the seed grows, you'll get a piece of that harvest, right? You won't be victimized by the AI. You will be a beneficiary of the AI. So the term that we use in here is what? It's not, we don't just know AI and we don't just own AI. We have known AI. Like we've known AI. We know it and we own it. We know it and we own it. We know it and we own it. You should know it for sure. Don't run away from it. Stop that. The best way, there's a saying that says the best way to deal with the demons that are chasing you is to turn around and confront them. The best way to deal with those demons that you're running away from is to turn around. Stop and turn around. Whatever your demon is, if your demon is financial problems, turn around and confront it. If you got credit problems, turn around and confront it. Bad relationship with your kids, turn around and confront it. If you ain't taking care of your health, turn around and confront it. Stop running away. AI, turn around and confront it. Right? And then you want to own it, right? So we know it and we own it. You got to own it because these companies, the AI race is getting really interesting. I heard Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, who I consider to be one of the most powerful human beings on the planet right now. I heard him say something that was really interesting about China. And basically what Jensen Huang was saying was that the Chinese are just prepared to completely kick our ass when it comes to AI. And a lot of it comes down to like just how quickly they can produce and manufacture things. Like in the US, in order to build anything, if you want to build a gazebo in your backyard, you got to get like 10,000 permits and inspections and all this other stuff done. And if you have a really complex project, then it's going to really take you a while to get that done. The Chinese, they can build a hospital in a weekend. That's what he said. He said they can build a hospital in a weekend. They can build AI data centers like it ain't nothing. It takes us years to build out a data center because there has to be an environmental study and there has to be approvals for every little thing, and a lot of things have to be coordinated. So he said they produce faster. Actually, and also they produce people in a certain way. The Chinese produce more engineers in a year than the U.S., India, and Japan combined. They produce more engineers in a year than us plus India plus Japan combined. And also their engineers are better than our engineers. They didn't go to college and spend 4 years drinking beer 50% of the time. They are ready on day one to go get something patented. They're ready on day one to jump out there and do work. They're ready on day one to get things done. They have discipline. Thank you, Charles. Great term. They have something that we just, as a society, I think, have abandoned, which is discipline. I'm a big believer in discipline. I just do. I believe discipline for the children makes them better. Discipline for yourself makes you more successful. Discipline in everything can help you to have whatever you want. If you can be financially disciplined, then a lot of these problems can go away. But discipline is something where people think you're a weirdo if you embrace it. But I don't think you're a weirdo. I think that you're smart, right? So anyway, let's keep going. Let's talk about this. All right, so capitalism is an economic system in which the means of production, such as land, factories, technology, and capital, is pretty much anything that can produce various forms of financial security, income, stuff like that. So I own stock. I mean, you might own real estate. You might own a business. If you went to college, you have what is called human capital. Your human capital went up because you got that degree. Congratulations. And it says in this system, these means of production are privately owned, and the goods and services are produced for the purpose of generating profit. So that's really important. They're privately owned, not owned by the government, not owned collectively, and they are designed for the purpose of generating profit. So they want to make a profit, and it's privately owned. In this system, prices, wages, and the allocation of resources are largely determined by markets, while individuals and firms operate in competition with one another. So a couple things are supposed to happen in capitalism is one, you're supposed to have open, free markets, which you in many cases you don't actually, and then also they're supposed to have competition. So Netflix just wanted to buy Warner Brothers, and they're going to get challenged immediately because some believe that that much concentration of power in media is going to be anti-competitive and make it that much more difficult for upstarts and incumbents to kind of get into the game, right? If you're a young filmmaker or if you're a young studio and you're trying to make something happen, it's going to be much harder for you to get that done, right? And it makes me even think about just because I love my friends. There's a guy named Barry Brewer, who's a great comedian that I know out of Chicago, and he's got a new movie coming out. And since it's a black-owned movie, I should probably mention it because I'm going to take the time to watch it. I'm trying to find his Instagram, and it's about Christmas. I think it's called The Flight Before Christmas, and I think the website is what's the website? I want to say it's theflightbeforechristmas.com. Yeah. And I watched it, and Barry Brewer's a good guy, right? He kind of has a Kevin Hartish kind of appeal, and I went to his comedy club to support him. He's B1. He's from our community, by the way. That's how we know each other. Is Barry was right up in the B1 space. I don't know if he's come to the convention or not, but this is the movie, The Flight Before Christmas, and they actually it looks like they're seeking their own distribution. They have a website, The Flight Before Christmas Film.com, and I think that that's the exclusive location where you can watch it and rent it and all that stuff. And I think that's kind of cool, but it's hard, right? It's really hard to if you're not on Netflix and getting that instant distribution and that instant check, it's hard to compete with that. And so it does become an uphill battle. But as I'm just thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, let me just support my friend and mention his movie because this is the kind of thing that makes a difference, right? And so theoretically, the way capitalism is supposed to work is you're supposed to have avenues for open, easy competition, but you really don't. You really don't. We all know Netflix comes through, they eat everybody's lunch, and it becomes kind of difficult for anybody to really compete. And that's just what it is. All right. Now, one thing I want to mention too is I'd ask you guys to tell your B1 story in terms of how you're using investing and things that we talk about in class to make your lives better. And so I just to keep with that, I want to mention one story I saw. This is from Janine Wharton. So Janine, if you're here, say hello. She says, thank you, Mr. Boyce Watkins. I'm so glad I'm one of your students. I'm now investing in my open. And let's see, I'm buying a single stock. Okay, some of what you send out on profit alerts. Also, I love learning stock options, how to make money without working. I'm retired. I also have a business and I'm trying to start another, and I'm educating my 3 children and 3 grandchildren on investing. I also took the Blueprint stock options class. I love learning about investing. I love sharing with others and looking forward to starting my investment club with my children. Thank you again. Okay, so this is great. So first off, Janine, Miss Wharton, congratulations to you and your family. And what she's doing, what Janine's doing that's really important is what my grandmother did for me. A lot of you are in the position of, you're the daddy, you're the mother, you're the grandmother, etc. You're a natural CEO unless you choose to relinquish your position. You are a natural CEO of an institution already. You're already the boss. And so, in my view, given that you're the boss, given that you're the CEO, then that means you have an amazing opportunity to guide the lives of others and leave an impact. Like that song says, a child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. God is smiling on you, but he's frowning too, because only God knows what you'll go through, right? So a child that isn't guided is going to go through hell. And they're born with no state of mind. They're blind to the ways of mankind. But you see. You've seen what racism feels like. You've seen what it feels like for good things to happen. You've seen how the world operates. So it's important for you to be their eyes and ears, right? And prepare them, right? Preparation is the key to everything, right? So all investing is preparation. That's all it is. It's financial preparation, right? So ultimately, I would encourage you to really embrace that role as the leader, because you're not just a leader because you might be the elder, but you're also a leader because you're probably the most knowledgeable person in your family when it comes to investing. Remember, you're talking to a guy who got his PhD 23 years ago. I knew a lot about finance 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, I knew more than most people will ever learn in two lifetimes. But that was 30 years ago. I've learned 30, and I learned more. I take in information constantly every day, several hours a day. So what I know now, 30 years ago, I was like a baby, in terms of what I knew back then. So the fact that we're talking every day and we're having these conversations gives you a huge advantage over the world, right? Forget racism and all that. There's nothing saying that a white man is smarter than you about this stuff. Who wrote that rule? That's a silly rule. So what I would say to you is take this, like take that position, like get with the kids and the grandkids, give them the basics, start the family investment club, tell everybody they need to show up, go to your church, start talking to the people in your church, just sort of embrace that, be conscious about that. So I want to say congratulations to Janine for embracing that role. And I'm really happy that things are working out for you. Now she's studying stock options. If you want to study stock options with us, feel free to go to drboyceprime.com. And if you want to learn options from A to Z, Prime is focused on income. But if you want to learn options from top to bottom, A to Z, then feel free to go to drboycecoin.com. The URL is above my head, drboycecoin.com. All right, so let's keep reading the definition of capitalism here so we can really understand what this means. Um, in this system, prices, wages, and the allocation of resources are largely determined by markets, while individuals and firms operate in competition with one another. Capitalism also relies, pay attention, also relies on legal frameworks that protect private property, enforce contracts, and support the accumulation and the investment of capital. So, in order for a capitalist system to really work well, you have to have the protection of that property. One of the reasons that people like to invest in the United States is because we've always had structure and the rule of law. And that means that if you own a factory, if you're Japanese and you own a factory in the US, the government can just come in and nationalize your factory and take it away from you. Some countries have done that. You invest in certain places, it can just be nationalized. That happened to me. That's what sort of caused me to have pause about investing in China. Was I had a massive investment in a company in China called Tekadu, and the government just came in and nationalized it, and I lost a lot of money. Right, so this can happen. So the U.S. is a great place to invest because they don't really tend to do things like that, and they tend to allow you to enforce your contracts. They also allow you to they support the accumulation of capital. They create rules of the road that allow for a really powerful, very liquid stock market where you can go in there, 5 days a week and sell your assets near the full market value. Now, I want you to compare that to your private business. Let's say you start a business with your cousin and you're selling shea butter on the weekends and you make good money, but then you say, we want to get out of the shea butter business and we want to sell this business. Well, there's a hard process you have to go through to sell that business. It's not a liquid asset. It's not easy. It's not like you can walk out and just sell it in 20 minutes. You would have to spend time searching, pay what they call search costs to find a buyer, and you'd have to, go through. There's a lot of what they call information asymmetry issues as well that have to be resolved, meaning that you know a lot about the business and they don't. So they'd have to do a due diligence process where they got to go through with a fine-tooth comb to make sure you're not selling them a ticking time bomb. The stock market alleviates a lot of that because they have rules in the public markets. Companies have to reveal information about themselves on a regular basis, file these quarterly reports. If you own stock in IBM, you can sell it in 30 seconds. You make an investment, you can get out of the deal very quickly, but you're still an owner, right? And so the quickest way to have a black-owned business is to buy stock, because if you're black and you own it, then that's a black-owned business, in my view. It may not, you may not be the only owner, but that's okay. There's no rule saying you have to be the only. This is another thing I run into a lot as I've convinced more and more people to embrace ownership. Sometimes it seems that people will take it to the extreme and they feel that they have to own everything that they're ever a part of and that they have to be the only owner, right? And I'm not here to promote on any level maybe the lone Negro philosophy, the solo, King Kong consciousness, like I am the man, I am the boss, I'm the HNIC kind of mindset. I think that it's better to have a collaborative mindset that also allows you to have a stake in whatever you're participating in. If you're collaborative and you understand that him doing well does not mean I'm doing less well, then that's what you really look for. I mean, sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes it's naturally competitive and you're competing over something where both of you can't have the same thing, like two teams fighting for a championship. Like last night's Big Ten championship, Indiana and Ohio State couldn't both win the game, so they had to compete, and that's fine. You get that. But there's also, but then there's other levels of competition that are unnecessary. Like, so if I'm on the same team as you, if we both play for Ohio State and I'm the wide receiver and you're the quarterback, I shouldn't compete with you. I shouldn't feel like you having a good game means I didn't have a good game, right? And that's unnecessary. We're on the same team. So for Black people, I think that there is an importance in understanding that you're on the same team, while at the same time, though, you have to represent your own interests, right? So that creates what I might refer to as healthy competition. I don't necessarily need to have every situation be one where I'm the only owner. I've seen people like that, where if they're not the boss, if they're not the leader, if they're not the main one, if they're not getting all the benefits, they will not participate and they will walk away from a collaborative scenario where they would actually do better collaborating than trying to do everything by themselves. I had to have a long conversation with a young lady I mentor. I said, every time somebody invites you to participate as a team, you walk away from that and then you go off and do it by yourself and you fail. And that's people do that in relationships. People don't want to be a part of a team. Well, I don't compromise and I ain't settling and I ain't letting it. Okay, well, go sit by yourself and try to do it all by yourself. You go be the husband and the wife and the mother and the father and see how that works out for you. It's better when you find good teammates and you can make sure your interests are represented well and do due diligence to make sure you're participating in something that actually works. And then you can be more successful that way. So the idea of competition, I think, is something you want to really think about when you're talking about doing business. Also, earlier we were mentioning liquidity. If you get into something, how easy is it to get out? So these are some of the things that capitalism can do. Now, I want to make it clear, though, when people talk about that term black capitalist, I've had people say that. I have people say, well, Dr. Boyce promotes black capitalism. No, I do not. Please don't ever say that. Don't say Dr. Boyce is the black capitalism guy. I'm not that. No. I believe in black business ownership. I believe in black free enterprise. I believe in black wealth. I believe in black financial security. I do not believe in black capitalism in the sense of what capitalism has come to represent over time. And in fact, there was a book written by a Harvard professor. Let me find his name. And he wrote Sven Beckert wrote a book called Capitalism: A Global History, and it was published in 2025. And in his book, he did a great job of breaking down the history of capitalism. And one thing that he mentioned about capitalism is that it was kind of a global thing. It didn't start sort of in one place. It was sort of everywhere. And basically, he says that, this is not sort of a natural state of the human economy, but a pretty recent invention that came from specific historical, geographic, and political conditions. So it was happening in Asia, it was happening in Africa, it was happening in Europe, all over the place. And so capitalism didn't just happen. There's also this sort of commodification that took place, the centrality of commodities, trade, and extraction to the rise of capitalism. Basically, he emphasized that capitalism didn't emerge because of abstract free markets, but through concrete processes of the commodification of goods, like sugar, cotton, and coffee. But also there was labor, the commodification of labor, and ultimately things like forced labor, aka slavery. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of capitalism, or I don't call myself a capitalist, because when you get in the extremes, you know that capitalism basically says, okay, you have the private owner of the means of production. Their goal is to extract value from the labor of others or land or other resources. So ultimately, they ended up taking things that did not belong to them or forcing people into work that they did not want to do. All right, and so slavery was the most extreme form where they would literally go to Africa and kidnap people and take them from their families to force them to work. Slavery still happens to this day. I saw a video the other day where they were talking, where they were warning women about, the fact that Uber and that there are sex traffickers that are now posing as Uber and Lyft drivers who are offering water to women when they get in the car, and the water has a drug in it, and they then put you to sleep and take you away. So be really careful. Don't be drinking water when you get in the Uber or the Lyft. And I think that's true for males or females. There are examples around the world happening right now of people being kidnapped. Like they're doing a lot of this in parts of Africa, like in the Sudan and other places where a richer country next door, they'll put up job applications and say, hey, if you want to be on, you want this job, come to a job interview. And they actually kidnap the people when they came for the job interview and force them to work like in a call center or these massive scamming operations. These things are still happening all around the world. Now in America, thank God, it's not this extreme on a regular basis, not for most people. But where I see forced labor happening is the fact that when you don't have any ownership of any form of capital, then ultimately someone seeks to own you. And you have people that are forced in these horrible working conditions because the government doesn't do a good job of protecting workers. I have no problem with the election of Mamdani in New York because things have just gotten so extreme. And I trace this back to the 1970s when right before Reagan got elected, there was a whole movement amongst extreme capitalists and wealthy people who just felt that greed was good, and they said, "Let's go take over this government." And so they allowed money into the government, and they started, so laws eventually got passed that basically said that the more money you have, the more you can control a politician. And as a result of that, you have very few protections for workers in this country. There's no reason they shouldn't increase the minimum wage. You can still get rich and pay people $30 an hour. There's no reason they shouldn't support labor unions. You can negotiate with a labor union and come up with a fair deal, right? There's no reason that they shouldn't have social safety nets. You can have social safety nets for poor people and still get rich. You can let women and the father too off for maternity leave when a baby's born and still go make your billions. But they've gotten to the extreme of that. And so this is what's happened in America. This is why you have to be really careful. You have to protect and defend yourself. So this is why certain things are essential for those who want to survive. Like having the emergency fund is important because ain't nobody going to come save you. Owning stock is critical because your job isn't going to make you wealthy. It never will, 9 times out of 10. This is why financial intelligence and discipline matter. Having financial literacy is essential so that you know what's going on and you know what it means to have a piece of the American dream. Like the American dream does exist, but it tends to live in the stock market. That's where the American dream is. The American dream is not in the factory. The factory is the place where you go and you create the American dream for the people who are invested in the stock market. So this is one of the reasons why I'm very proud that in the Black Business School, 91% of our students are stock market investors. But this is not an endorsement of the system. This is not me saying I'm happy that America is a financial addict and an extreme capitalist. It's me saying, okay, well, here are the rules. Here's how it works. I'm a finance professor. I can only tell you how the game is played and how you can win it. I'm not here to tell you whether or not it's an appropriate game. Or if you were to force me, I'd say no, it's not appropriate, but I want you to win. All right. So anyway, let's move on. Yeah. So capitalism, according to this book by Sven Beckert at Harvard, he basically talks about how capitalism can reshape societies, human relationships, and global structures. And so he argues that capitalism doesn't just transform trade or labor, but fundamentally reshapes social relations, human practices, and cultures around the world. Yes, yes, yes. What does that mean? Well, it's crazy to me that there are now people that believe that going to work every day is more important than actually building your family. Like that's the wildest thing in the world to me, that somehow the status of having a job at some office or some factory is more important than like the most important job in the history of the earth, which is being a mom. How is working in a factory that in a company that don't even care about you? how is that more valuable, or working in an office even, or whatever? How's that more important than literally raising the next generation of your offspring? And it's same thing with being a dad. I think fathers, it's crazy. It's weird, or you'll have people that will work themselves to death. They will work themselves into an early grave, and they gotta grind, gotta hustle, gotta da da da. I ain't got time for relationships and da. I mean, it's it's a weird, like, you ain't got time for nothing, huh? You just all about that job. Okay, I hear you. That's not healthy. We know that. And what happens is, according to Becker, he says that capitalism commodifies almost everything, from goods to relationships to time and human life itself. So you have scenarios where the medical system, insurance companies are deciding who gets to live and who gets to die based on who can afford medication. You have people um, that will only date somebody if if they have money or a certain kind of job or whatever, right? Like, and that's well, I think it's healthy to balance these things. We've kind of lost that balance. And so I don't know where things go from here. I just know that when you're talking about um, wealth, you really have to understand what wealth is. And most of the time, wealth has nothing to do with money. Most time when I talk about wealth, I'm a wealthy man. I'm a very wealthy man, but I ain't even talking about any money I have in the bank. I just take away every nickel I have. I'm still gonna be rich. you know, just the knowledge that I've acquired through the years. I wouldn't sell my brain for $1 billion, right? So find your wealth, find your real wealth, your family, your whatever it is, whatever it matters, man. You got to go deeper than that. You can't just be this mindless drone chasing after these worthless green pieces of paper and somehow think that's going to fulfill you. It's not going to fulfill you. It's going to depress you. That's what's going to happen. It's going to depress you because you think it's going to fulfill you, but then it doesn't. And so you end up feeling like you're, in the Wizard of Oz. They thought they spent all their energy trying to go see the wizard, and the wizard turned out to be, a fraud, right? So don't do the Wizard of Oz thing. Don't just follow the yellow brick road. Find your own path, find your own road, and follow that. Okay. Antoinette said, "Did you send out a list of AI stocks?" Yeah, I did that a long time ago. If you go to my Instagram, which is Dr. Boyce Finance, go in and just type the word stock on any comment, and you'll get some stuff on Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. And one thing I'll mention is, if you're looking to make extra money as a mobile notary, Andre Hatchett is a great guy, and I've been friends with him for a very long time, and he's an expert at becoming a mobile notary. And so he does this study hall every Sunday where he goes through and he just breaks down ways to make that little bit of extra money. Apparently, there's a massive industry for people that can go to different houses or people's houses and get them to and notarize documents. And so if you're looking for ways to make extra money, he's doing the study hall. He does this every Sunday. I'll put the link in the comments for you to do a free trial if you want to check it out. He's actually going to meet tonight with some students. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. So you should see the link in there if you want to go take a look at it. All right, so let's do a quick field trip really quickly to Instagram. And I think Instagram is just such a fun place to just talk about, like, borderline worthless ideas, but sometimes they're interesting and fun. So, as you know, my wife and Tiana Von Johnson and Shar Curry, these are three women that are brilliant, and they have hundreds of thousands of followers. Shar has a lot of people that follow her, and Tiana does a lot of work with Master P and stuff. They're doing the thing in Chicago, and I'm actually going to participate. So if you live in the area, it's going to be Thursday, December 11th. So if you want to come by and hang out with us, I'm going to be there supporting my wife. I will be in the background holding something that looks like a drink. It'll probably have water or Pepsi in it, and I'll be cheering on my wife. And so, just encouragement to all the black men that have extraordinary wives. You gotta sit back and support what she's doing. It ain't just all about you. And they got this podcast they're launching, Real Table Talk, and they're also doing this event in Chicago on the 11th. So if you live in the area and you want to come by, feel free to do that. Now, let me share this. This was something I brought up. I shared, I just with trepidation, I shared this video with Roland Martin. And I'm going to play it quickly. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I addressed it last time, but I really wanted to make this point. Roland's the thing I made the point because I'm trying to be mean to him. I'm really not. I just want to make sure we understand what's going on here when it comes to Black economics. I'm going to play this clip really quick. Let me know if you can hear it. Here it goes.
On the street corners who are complaining. Oh, Stokely Kwame Ture said, "You cannot find me any African American that has made a difference for our people who was not in an organization." Wow.
Okay. So as Jamal Bryant, the one and only, as he sits there in shock over what Roland just said, um, I want to sort of reiterate something I think is really important. I think that Black independent thought is extremely important, and I'm not against joining organizations. I think the problem for Black people in organizations, I'm sure white people have the same issue in certain areas, is that there are so many organizations that are afraid to be Black first. There's so many organizations, even the NAACP, they seem to sort of have this kumbaya, we're here to help everybody kind of mindset. And I think I would trust these organizations more if they were relentlessly and unconditionally committed to the advancement of Black people. If they just said, look, this is who we represent. We don't care if you're Democrat or Republican or whatever. We want to make sure Black people win. And so again, not to tell anybody what their politics should be, but one of the reasons I really was intrigued and I wanted to support Ice Cube when years ago when he did his contract with Black America is that that's what we agreed on. When I talked to him, he had been one of my favorite rappers when I was a teenager, but that was all I knew about the guy. But I spoke to him and I said, and I listened to him talk, and what I loved about it was I said, okay, he doesn't care about political affiliation. It doesn't have to happen in any particular way, as long as the quality of life of Black people is improved. And that was where we were in alignment. It was like, oh, this is okay. This makes sense. I'd love to help you. What can I do? Right. And so I'm not saying that there are no organizations out there like that, but there's so many scenarios where they say, okay, you can be Black as long as you vote for this person, or you can be Black as long as you come, buy this product. You can be Black as long as you fulfill this agenda and you do it exactly this particular way. And so the manipulation is problematic. And so I think that the ability to do discernment and your due diligence is extremely important. So as you commit yourself to an organization, I would encourage you to make sure that the organization is committed to you. This is how the ultimate organization you should be committed to, first and foremost, should be you and your family. Period. That's paramount. And so when you go out and you decide you want to join another organization, whether it's a political party, an activist group, a fraternity or sorority, a corporation, that's fine. Just know this though, they're going to ask for an investment from you. They're going to ask you to allocate something to the mission of the collective. Does that make sense? Right. And when you allocate, see, remember economics and wealth, this is a wealth conversation. I want you to understand the wealth connection here. Economics and wealth is all about the allocation of scarce resources. It is about how do you take something that has a finite supply and pick and choose where to put it. Like, think about this. Think about time. Time is a scarce resource. We only got 24 hours in a day. So you got your whole day. It's a Sunday. You got this day in front of you. And one person over here saying, okay, we want you to come down to the church and we want you to come and spend time helping us to, develop the building fund. And then you got this other person saying, hey, we need you to come to the march and the rally to support the blah, 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 blah. And then somebody else saying, hey, we need you to come to work to help the corporation to make more money. You then are kind of the CEO and the manager of these resources, right? And you are deciding, you're doing economic optimization. You're investing in different areas. Do you understand? Do you understand how that's investing? You do understand that, right? You do understand that when you're allocating your time and your energy and your attention, you're making an investment. You do understand that, right? Let me know you understand this, because I don't want you to think this class is all about money. This is money. To hell with money, man. Money is not the most valuable thing that you own. most valuable things you own are your time, your attention, your energy, all these things. So you're investing. You're a portfolio manager. That's what you're doing. You're investing some time over here at the church, some time over here with the kids and the wife, time over here with the corporation, time over here with the NAACP, time over here with. Okay, here's the deal. Here's the issue. Here's the thing I want you to consider. Okay, when you're allocating your time and you give time to your kids, give me a yes or a comment, yes or no. Does that benefit you and your family? I got to open this door over here. But tell me, does that benefit you? Question number two. Question number two. When you invest time going to the gym and working out, does that benefit you? Are you going to get a positive ROI? Question number three. When you take your money and you put it in your stock portfolio, does that benefit you? Yes or no? Okay. So we know this. This we know. And in a world where psyops are happening all the time, where propaganda is everywhere, where weapons of mass manipulation exist on a very high level, I like to focus on the things I know versus the things I don't know, the things that are clear versus the things that are fuzzy. I make that distinction, right? So we know what's clear. We know that if I spend time with my kids, my legacy, my family benefits. That organization is going to win because I'm pouring time into it. That what you like my mama used to say, anything that you put anything that you put energy into is going to pay off. If I put time into my health, my physical and mental health, I know that that's going to be a win, positive ROI for sure. I know that spending time with my kids and my wife, they're going to benefit me. So when somebody comes along, when some son of a bitch comes along from an organization that's outside of my house, they come from the job down the street, they come from the church, they come from from the civil rights organization, and they say, I know you want to spend time with your kids and wife, but we need you to spend time at the factory. It's going to benefit you, I promise you. I don't know if that's is so clear. I don't know if that's so clear because now remember, economics is one definition is it's the allocation of scarce resources. Wealth means that you've allocated those resources in an efficient way. So wealthy people are people who've allocated their scarce resources in a way that's beneficial to them. So now you've gone from a certain investment to something that's not quite clear. The corporation will tell you that they love you, but they really don't. They'll tell you that they'll have your back, but you're not sure. You don't know, right? The civil rights group, they say, hey, we know you want to put that money into your stock portfolio and a trust fund for your kids, but we're going to ask you to make a donation to the whatever, right? Because we're going to work on your behalf. We're gonna, okay. Then you've gone from a clear investment in an organization that where you know for a fact because you are the CEO of that organization. You know that when I'm investing for the family, you're going to get something back for the family because you're the steward of these resources. But now I've gone from something that's certain to something that I'm not so sure about. I don't know what the agenda of this leader is. There is lots of manipulation of black people when it comes to time and money and attention. And I could keep going down the list, but I think you get my point, right? So when Roland says no person has affected change without being part of an organization, I think we gotta really analyze that and say, what does change really look like? What does that mean? Because there's like change like there's some types of change like I want to get the Republican out of office so I can get a Democrat. That's change for sure. But then the question becomes, how does that change truly affect my life? Right? Because if it don't trickle down, then it don't matter, in my opinion. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be. If you're a Democrat, be a Democrat. If you're a Republican, be a Republican. If you're independent, be independent. If you don't vote, don't vote. Whatever you want to do. I'm not here to judge that. What I'm saying is, it's an exercise in self-esteem. I think it matters for you to say, okay, I know that we won. I know we achieved change, because I see you shining. You up there in the White House now. You doing good. You doing well. But man, I still can't pay the light bill, and my family's falling apart because I've given more energy. I've given energy to things outside of my home that have taken away from my ability to give to my home. I spent so much time at the factory that my wife doesn't talk to me anymore. I spent so much time, trying to save the world that my own kids don't even know me anymore. They don't like me, right? I gave all my money to you, and now I don't have no money. I don't have nothing in my so change to me even that's very deep. So it's like, okay, when you're talking about achieving change, what does that mean? Right? Because in my view, tell me if you can hear what I'm saying on this. I really believe change has to start with your life, your quality of life. If it ain't changing, but then again, that's my bias. My mom and daddy used to say, I don't give a damn what they doing down the street. If they ain't paying no bills in my house, anybody got parents like that, grandparents like that? Like, if you ain't paying no bills in my house, I don't give a damn what you think, right? So because change for me means I can pay the bills, I'm gonna be healthy, my kids are safe, my wife, my family's solid, and then I can go change the world. Right, then I can go out and I'm not saying that that always applies. I mean, sometimes making the sacrifice for greater good. I mean, it's all important, but I really think that what's happened is we've lost that balance to some extent. I think that um, Black people get used a lot, and I think that we get used a lot because we don't value ourselves. And when you don't value yourself, you don't value what you have around you, then you'll spend time trying to get attached to what other people are doing. You'll spend time chasing around these shiny Negroes and these institutions and trying to be affiliated, wearing brands and labels and getting job titles and stuff because you really inherently are seeking the validation that you never really got. Because in the minds of some, you were born just a Negro, and who wants to be a Negro, right? And so I think when you're talking about change and you're talking about organizations as a catalyst to change, I'm in complete agreement with that. But I think the question then becomes, well, what organization are you talking about? And I think everybody, yeah, be a part of something, but think carefully about what that something is and whether that something actually benefits you in the way that you want to benefit. What I'm finding is that so many of our people are not happy. They feel stressed out and controlled by others. A lot of people are lonely now. And this connects to capitalism. Scott Galloway has been going around speaking about how so many men are lonely and isolated. Young people have given up on the concept of family and relationships. And also, this is the first generation, I think, ever, where the overwhelming majority of young people do not believe they're going to do better than their parents. And if your parents understand the capitalist system and invested and poured into you to prepare you to not only inherit what they've spent their lives building, but to also build on top of that, then that should be the case. There is not a single young person whose parents loved them and prepared for them and invested for them who feels that they're going to do worse than their parents. How the hell does that happen? How is it that you got to level 4 and I somehow feel like I'm going to end up on level 2? Like, did you? Because if you work your life to get to level 4 and you pass me a 4 and I protect the 4, then I can build a 2 on top of the 4, which should get me at a 6. How are we going backward? In a country where people work harder than damn near anywhere else on earth, any other industrialized country. Americans are so freaking productive. We are so committed to going to work and sacrificing to the point where we kill ourselves doing it. We how is it that we're going backward? That don't even make no sense. When something doesn't make sense, you got to take a step back and start being reflective. You got to look at the process. You got to stop and kind of be like, wait, what's going on here? This doesn't make any sense. Your mother and father worked 40 or 50 years and you're going to have less than them? So that means they busted their ass for 50 years and didn't accumulate shit. They didn't leave you shit. That's crazy to me. No child of a good parent should ever say, I'm going to be worse off than my parents. That means you got bad parents. And I'm sorry if I hurt somebody's feelings, but that's the fact. My children are not going to be worse off from me. I told them, I said, you're going to be rich on the day I die. The day I die, you're going to have more money than you've ever had in your life. And I know I've been dropping game on you since you were a baby. So everything that I have, you're going to have. And I need you to build on that, to protect it and grow it. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. How in the hell does a child feel like they're going to do worse than their parent in a world that makes any damn sense? What the hell were the parents doing? I'm really curious about that. I really am. I'm not judging. I'm not attacking. If it sounds like that, I apologize. That's not the intent of this discussion. And I really just want you to reflect on this. The building of generational wealth has to be a top priority for any family that loves their children. The protection of the wealth. I mean, I poured all this. I mean, you don't spend all this time serving every master, serving everybody but yourself. Right? You don't gave money to the church. You've been giving you gave your life to the corporation. You gave all this time and energy and attention to these civil rights movements and everything, and that's fine. But how is it that your children are going to be worse off than you? What happened here? I don't understand that. I just don't. And that's really hard because it does require us to even question even some of the most sacred cows out there. My greatest heroes are, people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali. And y'all know I love Ali. Ali and Malcolm X, my two most favorite human beings ever. But their families weren't so well off after they went out and conquered the world and did all these amazing things. But, you know, maybe handling stuff at home first would have been the more optimal approach. It doesn't mean you can't be great, but sometimes we're seeking so much externally that we're not handling things at home base. And I don't think that's how empire building should be done. I don't. I believe that you start from the core and you build outward. You don't start outward and then somehow think things are going to trickle back in because sometimes they just don't. Okay. But that was hard for me because I love Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali. I mean, that's my great. I'm from Louisville, man. I mean, come on. So let me keep going. All right. So, just so you know, in terms of what's happened in the Black Business School, there's a young brother we work with named Lawrence Eggleston. He goes by the name the Panther, and he does a swing trading study hall. And I think he's going to meet today. I think they meet every Sunday. And so, if you want to join the swing trading study hall, if you're into that, the stock market has a lot of great opportunities right now. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening. And so, there's a link if you want to take a look at his swing trading study hall. I like Lawrence. He reminds me like the fact that we have to embrace our young people because we kind of forget about them sometimes in our quest to sort of catch up for ourselves. And our young people are the secret. So this year at the All Black National Convention, we're gonna have a whole series for young people. It's called Young, Black, and Rich. It's basically, when I say young, I'm talking about 18 to say 34. And so it's going to have a theme where they're going to design the whole framework and the structure and the curriculum and everything. So if you want to join us at the convention, we're going to be at the Hyatt on the Hudson. That's where we're going to stay. And I'm going to send out the link soon for the hotel rooms once we sign the contract. And it's going to be the weekend of October 16th. October 16th starts on Thursday. It ends on Sunday. So if you want to join us at the All Black National Convention, feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. All right, so let's go back to Instagram real quick. This is something I made in terms of a funny little cartoon. The biggest problem in the black community. Here you got a machine where income is like flowing pretty heavily. This is your cash flow. And then when you got savings and investments, it's like a trickle. And that's really something that I've observed and something you want to watch out for is that when it comes to spending, you see really exaggerated and accelerated ambitious and very courageous amounts of spending. Like we see people like rappers throwing money up in the club and spending $50,000 on strippers or whatever. Like there's a big flow of money, or people that spend money on Christmas. They're very aggressive about Christmas spending, but then when you get them to invest, they'll come and say, "I bought $10 worth of stock," and I'm like, "What you gonna do with $10 worth of stock? Then what's that? That's gonna be $11 next year. Like $10 worth of stock ain't gonna become very much." So what I say is like balance means if you're gonna be aggressive on this side, make sure that you're also aggressive on that side. Be an even more aggressive investor as you are a spender, and don't let the little things stop you. A lot of people are afraid to invest because they think, oh, I'm going to lose money. The stock will go down in price. But yeah, but if you spend the money, then you're going to guarantee yourself a negative 100% return on investment. So that was something I shared. Now this is me in high school. I don't know why I felt there. I just saw the picture on the wall. I took a picture of it. But this is me. I don't know why I was angry that day. Like I don't. I should probably be smiling. I'm about to graduate. It was a really crazy time because they didn't let me walk at the ceremony because I didn't go to the rehearsal. And so here I was, 17, 18 years old. I think my mama was like 35 or 36. And at that time, that guy right there, he has a baby on the way. He just hasn't told anybody yet. And he doesn't know exactly what the next step is going to be. And so that's me. And my Uncle Charles took that picture. So that's me at graduation. This is me as captain of the track team. So the same day I put on my track uniform and I took that picture. And I'm a big fan of track and field. And yeah, and it really taught me a lot about life. Like I think that it's if you have sons, make sure they understand that achieving high, that life achievement is very connected to sports. Like everything you learn in sports will help you succeed in life. Like consistency, determination, hard work, planning, strategy, work ethic, everything, overcoming failure, getting up when you get knocked down. So literally a lot of the success I had in college actually came from being on the track team. I wanted a track scholarship. I just didn't have the genetics to run as fast as I wanted to. But that was the greatest blessing ever, because when I finally got into spaces where there was no limit on my ability, it was really rewarding to know that the harder I worked, the more success I would have. So that's me at high school, in case you're curious. All right. Now here I did something. You can go check this out. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. But I mentioned something about the Nvidia CEO that led me to invest in an ETF in China. And basically, what Jensen Wong is saying is that the Chinese are positioned to really out accelerate the United States when it comes to artificial intelligence, largely because of their industrial capacity. And so you can go to Dr. Boyce Finance, my Instagram, if you want to watch that. Our time is almost up, so I'm not going to play that, but that's something else I put up there. This is something that was really interesting. This has to do with um, timeshares, and I'm going to play this really quick. Let me know if you can hear it. So here it goes.
5 things you didn't know about how timeshares destroy love. First, the average timeshare costs $24,000 upfront plus $1,000 annually in maintenance fees that increase 5% yearly. Couples sign during romantic vacations thinking they're investing in forever together. Second, 85% of timeshare owners try to sell within 5 years, but discover their investment is worth only 10% of what they paid. The financial loss triggers massive relationship fights. Third, timeshare contracts are nearly impossible to escape. 67% of couples spend over $15,000 on exit companies and lawyers while still owing the original debt. Fourth, 73% of couples report being pressured to sign through relationship manipulation during high-pressure sales presentations. They specifically target romantic emotions. Fifth, here's the most brutal truth. Timeshare debt follows couples through divorce. Many report that timeshare obligations kept them legally and financially tied to ex-spouses for decades. They couldn't fully move on or remarry because of a romantic purchase that became a lifetime prison. Here are 5 things.
Okay, so let me ask you this: yes or no? How many of you have ever been um, involved with a timeshare situation? And as you answer that question in the chat, I'm gonna tell Eunice the Hyatt on the Hudson. If you go to allblacknationalconvention.com, the address should be there. And it's in Jersey City, so it's not quite in Brooklyn, but it's Jersey City, but it's within minutes. I think on the train you can get to New York very quickly. Yeah. So how many of you? Okay. So if you remember, I don't know if anybody else noticed this. My sister and I sat through a timeshare presentation years ago, and let me just tell you, timeshare salespeople are the best salespeople ever. They are so good. They are masterfully good. And I remember like now, I was so traumatized by the experience that now when I go to a hotel and I see the person there who at they're sitting at some desk like from and they I don't know why Hyatt lets them use their name to sell this shit, or maybe it's Hilton, I can't remember. But they'll start asking you some friendly question like, so how long are you here? And I don't even want to answer the question. I'm like, I'm leaving right now. I gotta go. I gotta right. Because I know where it's going. Right. Their goal is to befriend you and or to offer help or tell you where the elevator is. And next thing you know, you locked into some presentation. And it's and they'll suck you in. They'll be like, well, would you like a free vacation or a free whatever? And you're like, yes, but then it comes at this cost. And I remember going to, I had taken one of these things many years ago, and it was one of those free, like $99 vacations or something. And they told me I didn't actually have to go to the presentation, but I felt like I had to because they kind of would lock you in and harass the hell out of you while you're there. And I remember sitting down with the person and watching how good they were at selling their bullshit. That's what I'm just going to tell you what it is. Most of the timeshare sales are people tend to end up regretting it big time, right? So if you wanted to do a timeshare, the way I would do it, if I thought about doing it, is I would go to one of these timeshare resale websites. I don't have one in front of me, but there are plenty of sites that resell timeshares that people are getting out of, and you can buy them for 10 cents on the dollar. Like you can buy them really cheap because people will are it's like the financial markets. You people will pour a lot of money in, and then somebody else can be the beneficiary of someone else's loss. And so if you really want to get into timeshare, which I think it could probably, I guess, be a good deal for the right price. Yeah, go to one of those. I would go to one of those resale sites. But I remember sitting there with this guy, and he wouldn't let us go. Like they were literally almost like I felt like I was in like a prison camp. Like they wouldn't let us. They were watching us, and we were trying to leave, and they wouldn't let us leave. And they're like, "Hold on, one more minute, one more minute." And so they're trying to convince me, and I don't tell anybody that I have a PhD in finance. I just let them think I'm just some dude. So I'm analyzing everything he's doing really carefully, and I'm like, wow, that was really good. Wow, if I didn't understand what's going on, you really would have manipulated me with that. And and then it gets to the point where they're asking me, and I'm like, no, and I know this from sales. Like the best way to say no is just say no. Don't say no because it's too expensive. They have a response to that. No, because I don't have time. They have a response to that, right? They've already sort of targeted all the reasons you would say no and to respond. So the best way is to just say no. I just don't want it. I don't have a reason. I just don't want it. Right. So I'm sitting there and the guy, he figures out that I kind of know what's going on. And so what he does then is he starts working on my sister. And so he starts talking to my sister, right, trying to get her to sign. And she goes, it was so funny. It was such a great it's such a great black man moment. My sister goes, well, I'm not gonna sign unless he signs, right? So she put it on her brother, and I'm starting to feel like the big protective man, like, yeah, man, you ain't coming in my household without getting my permission, man. So they're like, oh shit, we gotta go through this guy. And then eventually, if you want to know how the story ended, my sister and I, we snuck out the door. I said, okay, when this guy goes out to the back, let's go over here. I saw an exit. Let's get out of here. And we literally had to sneak out, and we didn't answer the phone for the rest of the trip. But yeah, but timeshares, in case you were ever wondering, just know it's just like somebody offering you some crack. If you don't know what crack is, it can seem like the best thing in the world. It'll perk you right up and it'll make sure that you have a great day. But crack is whack, as Whitney Houston said. Shout out to Whitney. And you just want to say no. Just say no. Like don't even. I would not even let them sit you down because they know how to sweet talk you right out of your money. And so if you want to get involved with timeshares again, I would personally look at one of those sites where someone else has already gone through the hell and allows you to take ownership of an undervalued asset, because that's what happens, the resale market. Okay, and this happens a lot. This is one of the big things about wealth and investing that people don't understand, is that, just that simple idea of buy low, sell high. Most of the wealth builders out here are people that have gone and they bought distressed properties, or maybe they do like tax liens on, they find somebody who's behind in their taxes on their house, and they say, okay, I'm gonna get some tax liens. I'm gonna go ahead and, put some money down and own this lien, and then if they don't pay their taxes, I can take the property really cheap. So really, this is one of the ideas in investing. A lot of times with investing, what I have observed that's very uncomfortable, very unnatural, is that you make the investments when other people don't want to, right? When other people are running away, you're running toward the market, right? So like the stock market, when the market's going down, everyone runs away. Smart investors are running toward the market, but when the market's up, everybody's running in because they're like, "Oh, I don't want to miss out." But the smart investors are like, sure, you can buy my stock. It went up 80%, but you can have it now, right? And they'll let you buy it. And then when the price collapses, they come back and they say, hey, let me take that stock off your hands, right? So not telling you to manipulate people. I don't want this to be seen in a malicious way, but that's pretty much how the game works. So you want to be conscious in that way, okay? All right. Let's see. So the last thing, don't forget the All Black National Convention is happening in October, the weekend of October 16th. Don't forget Lawrence Eggleston is doing his swing trading study hall pretty soon. And Lawrence is one of our faculty members. He's a super smart guy, and I really like Lawrence. And he's just and I think when our young people are doing the right things, we should support them and want to partner with them. And so Lawrence is part of our team. And so the links should be in the comments. So feel free to take a look if you want to do a free trial. All right. So have a good day, everybody. God bless you. And also, if you want to get an invitation to join us tomorrow for class, just text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. We meet every morning at 10 a.m. and we spend an hour discussing economics and finances. And that's how we're going to be the most economically intelligent people on the planet. So God bless you. I'll see you soon. Take care.